Hey guys, what's happening? This is Will. So I've got a Gallien Krueger 250 ml, and the speakers, the foam surround deteriorated. So I took those speakers out, and I ordered some speakers on Amazon, and basically, to replace these speakers, you gotta take the amp apart. So I had already taken the cover off. There's like eight screws on there, Phillips screws. So you need a Phillips screwdriver, and there are, let's see, there's some screws on the front of it here. We got to take off this screw here and one there and two on the bottom. So this amp's pretty cool, actually. I bought it a few years ago, and then I noticed the speakers were bad in it, and I decided to take them out. Well, it's been kind of, I've been plugging it into a 4x10 Marshall cabinet, and it's a cool amp. It's kind of a little noisy. Solid state. It's got an echo on it. Let's see. There's another screw here. It's got echo on it and chorus. So you got that 80s chorus sound going on. What other screws do we got? Got a couple more down here. So this thing has a lot of screws on it. Screws everywhere. So I got some cheap PYLE speakers from Amazon. And do we get all the screws yet? Not sure if we got them all out of there. So we got to, I believe, I don't think you actually have to take the top of this off, but I think you have to take the side of it off. It's got some screws in the side of it. And take these screws out. And anyways, the reason that I ordered speakers for this is that I was trying out for this ska band in Seattle, and I had to carry my guitar and my orange amplifier and my guitar, and it was just kind of heavy, man. You know, I was trying to get into the rehearsal spot, and it's like, I just want to be able to like get my stuff out of my van as fast as I can, and not having to leave anything in my van, you know what I mean? So this thing has got a ton of screws all over the place. So it's been a while since I took it apart to take the speakers out, but if you're just patient and you take your time, I think that you actually have to maybe take it all the way apart, you know. So it just has a lot of screws in it, and you take them all out and put them in a jar or something so you don't spill them. Just gonna take them all out of there until they get to where I can put those new speakers in there. They're pretty much all the same kind of size of a screw. And there is a bunch of them. I don't know, I probably took maybe 20 or 30 of them out. So just keep taking them off, take it apart, you know, and make sure you keep the screws, put it in like an Altoids container or whatever you got laying around, you know. You got to be careful with an amplifier, because inside these amplifiers there's, you know, capacitors. There we go. So the amp is free, the top of it, and it's got a couple cables coming off of it. Okay, so now there we go. I pulled off the side. So if you look inside of there, it's got 4 bolts holding each speaker on there. And probably should just take off that whole front cover. Just keep taking the... Or do I want to take this back one off? Let's see. Okay, so this is kind of modular. It's got... This is the circuit board and stuff. Be careful and try not to touch all the... So you want to pay attention to where the wires go. And you don't really want to touch the circuit board with your hand unless you're shielded. So I'm just going to set this aside. Because if you got static electricity on your hands when you touch a circuit board, it could statically discharge onto that. So, and I've got some wires in here for the speakers, so I'll have to figure that out. Looks like I cut them off in there. I'd taken this apart a long time ago. So probably going to just take this thing apart. Take this other side off too. I think we got so many screws. A lot of the times it's better just to disassemble everything and give yourself room. I probably could have installed the speakers like on one side, taking one side off, but you have a chance of damaging them, you know. So you just take it all the way apart and keep track of everything. So there's that little cover off of there too. Just keep track of everything. And let's see. So these ones on the bottom here, take those ones apart. I think it breaks into like 2 halves. The back side and then the front side. So there's lots of screws in this thing, so you know, don't be afraid to take them all out. You know, it just comes down to doing something, you know. You can sit around and be like, oh, I don't want to do it, but finally just do something, you know. So anyways, there it is. It's taken apart. Great. So now I can put the speakers in after I get the speaker grill off. Probably pop the speaker grill off too. I need a flathead screwdriver to pry that off of there. So anyways, it comes in, you know, it's got a couple halves on it. Keep track of where these speaker wires go. I'll have to probably polarity test these. And anyways, that's how you take it apart. And basically you put it back together the same way. And you basically want to not tighten those screws too tight, but you don't want them to be loose and be able to loosen up on you either. So it's apart, and I'm gonna grab the box for the speakers. So I ordered these PYLE speakers off of Amazon, and I believe that they were like 20 bucks a piece. So to get a recone kit for these Gallien Krueger 6.5-inch speakers was like 20 bucks, 15-20 bucks with shipping. And so here we go. We've got I got the PYLE PDMW6s. And the package looks pretty good. It looks like it's new. The package kind of dented there, but so we got that. And I ordered something else. There's a book in there too, but so yeah. These are supposed to be pretty good. You know, I read some reviews from some other guys on a forum, and let's check them out. 250 watt peak power, PYLE. I think these were 20 bucks, so these little guys should fit in that amp. Yeah, I like them. They're pretty cool. Let's see what they sound like. Comes with some screws and stuff. And looks like they're brand new. That one looks like that one brand new. And open this one up too. Just be careful when you're using a knife. You want to cut away from yourself. Don't cut towards yourself or you cut your hand, you know. You got to be conscious and try to wear safety glasses, you know. PYLE. Pretty cool little packaging, another speaker. And it's got some screws in it too. What's this? Got something in here. Hey, that's really cool. So you got a template on these spot. You can put that on a box if you make a box, and you can drill holes. You know, just tape this on a box you make and then drill the holes there. And, you know, get a little saw and cut that out. And that would be a perfect fit if you just make your own speaker cabinets. You know, who knows? I might even do that sometime. It's got support. It's got PYLEUSA.com. Yeah, I'm impressed with these so far. I mean, the packaging's professional. You know, it's not all like used and crappy like some stuff that I've ordered online sometimes. So that's those guys. And let's see if we can put them in that box. So there they are. 2 PYLE speakers. Pretty nifty. I don't know if I like the little graphic on it, but that's okay. I can live with it. So I'm going to grab myself a flathead screwdriver. So we got those speakers out of the box. Check it out. Now we got the Gallien Krueger case back on here for the 250 ml. And I grabbed a flathead screwdriver. Should be able to pop this off of there now. I think I got all the screws out, I think. Well, there's a lot of screws in this thing. There it goes. It just kind of has some goop on it. It's got some sealant or something on it. So it's got a little sealant thing there. Go ahead and cut that on the corner. So, yeah, these are pretty cool. It's got this little sealant tape on it. So I just cut that in the corner. Alright. I get that off of there. Now myself a, not sure what size that is, so I'll be back with the socket. So I'm being lazy today, so I just grabbed a pair of pliers. So, and just gonna do it like that. Take it apart. So luckily I didn't disassemble everything and lose all the screws. I put the screws back in where they came. And so now we can put it back together and be successful. So it's got 4 screws on each thing. And I'm not sure if it I lost one of them or it was missing one of them. That looks like I'll have to get another screw and nut. So, you know, when you're working on this stuff, just take your time. If you've never done this stuff before, you know, working on your own electrical can be kind of dangerous. You don't want to like work on an old television set or a tube amp. If you got a tube amp, you want to be really careful because there's a lot of electricity inside of there. And the capacitors and stuff can have electrical charges that could actually, you know, kill you or reduce your life. So really, you know, take care, you know. Like this knife, you know, if you slip and fall on it, it could hurt you. Or these, you could pinch yourself on these cutters, you know. Just be careful, you know. So, I'm gonna, let's see. I think I'm gonna get some isopropyl alcohol and clean this surface a little bit so it just has a nice brand new installation. So I'm gonna do that. So I got some isopropyl alcohol. Just gonna kind of clean this a little bit. Just clean it up so it kind of makes it new. And if you want to, you can, you know, always paint it. But always use a respirator. And just kind of clean a little bit, clean it up. Cobwebs out of there and stuff. And this stuff, you don't want to breathe this in either, so get ventilation, get a fan going, you know. I turned a fan on for the ventilation. So let's see. We've got our brand new PYLE speaker, 6.5 inches. And before we unpackage everything, let's just put it up on there and see if it's gonna fit, you know. You gotta be careful when there's screws sticking out here like this. You don't want to like jam your speaker up there and then ruin this cone. If you put it up on there, like, you got to be really careful and line up the holes and stuff. So I think these are gonna work. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take them out of here. These are kind of cool. They're only 20 bucks. So let's see if this lines up. Pretty sure it's gonna. Yeah, it's a perfect alignment on there. So we will carefully put this together. So you got one screw in there. Washer. We've got our locking nut. So this little spiral thing on the end here, that's gonna to lock that nut on that bolt when you tighten it down. And I think actually this needs to go in the middle. If you look at this, so that's why you want to take your time, not do it too fast. So line that up. If you don't think it through and then you put it together super fast because you're in a hurry, sometimes you got to take it apart like I just had to, you know. So, and so I got one bolt through there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just barely put the bolt on, or the nut on there, so I can line all my other bolts up, you know. So you just want to, you never want to force stuff together. You just want to, this stuff is designed to go together, so you just don't force it in there and don't tighten it up too dang tight. So now when I put those first bolts in, I have to push this up, and then I got to line the hole down here, because if you don't do that, you're going to go through the center of your speaker comb. You just want to take it easy, and it should just line right up, should be straight shooting, straight to go, you know. It's like these speakers are made in China, like everything else. Unfortunately, you know, maybe we could start building some stuff back here in America. So I had 3 of those bolts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that other speaker in there and put that speaker grill on there. That's pretty cool. And then I'm going to figure out the polarity for these wires, and then basically just bolt it all back together. So it's like I need one more bolt with the nut on it, but hate to put that back together without the right screw and nut on it. But hey, I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nut here and figure out exactly what size that is socket. So I'm going to be back, figure out what size it is. So it looks like it's an 8mm. I don't know if you can see that, but it's 8mm. Okay, so put it back on there. Now, if you look at the front of this, man, you got this screw right here, and you got your speaker right there. So if you got your screwdriver here, be really careful not to puncture that speaker with your Phillips. So you just want to take it gently and don't jam it in there, you know. And your socket's gonna get stuck on your speaker magnet. So here I'm holding the tip of it so it doesn't jam in that speaker. And I'm just tightening it up by hand, you know. Doesn't gotta be super tight, because if you tighten it too tight, you'll bend the metal. So let's see. Got this one up here too. So there, it slipped off of there, but I had my end of my finger on the tip of the screwdriver, so it didn't screw none of the nut. So just take it easy, tighten it up. So it's, I don't know, 15 inch-pounds or something like that. Probably don't need a torque wrench, but you just want to tighten it up so it's pretty snug. So if you're wrenching it with a ratchet, that might even be too much. Just want to tighten it up till it feels snug, you know. That's pretty good. So I'm gonna take these ones off of here. It's got a washer there too. You want to keep track of where that washer is going. I think it's for grounding. This chassis got all this white grounding paste all over it, so there's a ground path back to the power supply, or however they're doing it inside of there in the circuit. So that's all. Those are off of there. So I can put our other speaker in there. So, yes, with speakers, you got to be careful with them, you know. Just kind of clean this up a little bit. Be careful, is there any sharp edges or anything? Looks like I got one more screw to take out. So let's see, we got our second brand new PYLE speaker, and you just gotta be careful with it, man. You don't fuck it up, mess it up. So put that one there like that. You're gonna put it in there and line it up with the hole on the speaker. Sometimes they have a little bit of overhang from the speaker itself, so once you can see the screw kind of lined up, you can push it through. You don't want to puncture your speaker. So I got all of them through there. So it's kind of tricky. You gotta kind of hold the speaker on there while you're holding the screw, while you're holding the nut on there, you know. And this has got an extra washer. Put the washer on there. I guess like an extra like grounding path on the speaker. You gotta kind of wiggle. It's got a little bit of wiggle room. It's not a close tolerance hole, you know. It's not super tight. So you just take it easy. Be careful where you put your tool. You don't want to puncture that speaker. Now some people will take a razor blade and they'll actually cut the speaker. It gives it like the distorted sound, but I don't know, then you're kind of just stuck with the distorted sound all the time. So, and you can kind of do it by feel too, you know. If you, like you're back in a small space like that, just be careful what you're doing. So there I got all 4 of those nuts on there, screws there. So I get all the screws in, all the nuts on, and then make sure it's like aligned up, and then I can tighten it down. And I want to make sure it's all lined up, you know. It's all in there, man. Those are pretty cool little speakers for 20 bucks. They're supposed to be the good ones, because I looked at some reviews on the internet. like 4 or 5 people bought them, and they actually say they sound better than the original Gallien Krueger 250 ml speakers, which I'm not sure if they were PYLE speakers, but if you use like some pedals, you got a graphic equalizer, and this, you know, all I want is something light when I go to a gig or to rehearsal or you know, try out for band or whatever. I don't want to have to load a 100-watt Marshall in my van. So this is the solution for now, and I don't know, I think it should sound pretty good. So now I'm just kind of, I'm not holding the screwdriver like this and lining it up with the front of this screw. I'm holding it like that so I don't puncture the speaker. You do not want to puncture the speaker. Take it easy. And kind of tighten it up just a little bit on each screw, you know. Tighten it up a little bit. And then tighten up the next one. You want to tighten up the opposite side a little bit. You don't want to tighten all the way down on one and then go to the other side and then, oh, it's like kind of off, you know. So I get in the way of the shot there, but you just want to take it easy, man, when you change the speakers, otherwise you'll ruin them, you know. And me talking to you and doing this, probably I should pay attention to what I'm doing. And I can kind of like tighten them up once I got them on there. So, I mean, if you ever change speakers before and you freaking puncture like a Celestion 25 greenback or something that's a vintage speaker, you're gonna be crying. So, if you don't know what you're doing and you're messing with an expensive speaker cabinet like a old Marshall 4x12 from the 70s or something, you know, or any old Fane speakers or whatever, man, you don't know what you're doing, you know, you might want to just spend the $100 and take it to your technician, because if you ruin it, or if you're working on your tube amp and you freaking electrocute yourself, that's not gonna help nobody, you know. That's not gonna help anybody. Not gonna help your family if you're injured. So, you know, just take it easy, man. Don't rush into disaster. So those are pretty tight, you know. Be really careful if I'm holding this screwdriver by the handle, man. And I'm just kind of like trying to torque it down final. And I'm not even, I'm torquing the nut. I'm not turning the screwdriver at all. I'm just holding that in place. And if you gotta move anything or rotate something, take your screwdriver off of that screw, because you do not want to puncture that speaker, you know. So that's pretty good. Still missing one screw. Probably should go to like Ace Hardware or something, but I might have one in the garage. I just wanted to see what these sound like. So now once I got them kind of snugged up on there, I'm torque them down a little bit. So those are all really pretty tight. I doubt that ever's gonna come loose because it's got this locking washer on these nuts. I don't think that would ever come loose in probably 20 years. I torqued it down pretty good. So anyway, so I'm going to figure out where these wires go. And I probably should get some connectors, but I might just solder these on there. That's probably the best thing to do, just solder them on there. So, be back. So I got the speakers in there. I'm gonna go ahead and put this speaker grill back on there. This is kind of cool. They got this sealant tape on here. So when this thing gets really loud, it's not gonna rattle. And I could probably get some new tape, but I don't got any in the garage, so I'm just gonna put it back on there. And we'll see how she sounds. So, try to line it up there as best as I can. Okay, before I like totally push it down, I'm gonna get a couple of screws and put it in there. You know, this is they got a bunch of different size screws, so you gotta kind of remember where they came from, you know. So these little guys here go on the bottom of that screen, you know. And there's so many screws on this. When you're screwing stuff down, be careful, man, you know. You don't want to puncture the speakers. So he's gonna take it easy, put these back in, and see, if you had your screwdriver right here, do you push too hard or you get off the angle, you're not doing right, you're gonna ruin your speaker. So you might want to do something like this even, you know. It comes with practice, but if you don't really use a screwdriver all the time, that thing can get a mind of its own and just you know, hurt yourself, even hurt somebody else, you know. I really got to pay attention to what you're doing, so you need to find one more of those big guys. There it is. That's those kind of little fat ones. You just got to eye it and line it up. So I'm not going to tighten these all the way down, because when I get this all back together and stuff, I'm going to, you know, see how it sounds. I might have to like tighten these screws back in here or something, or take it apart for some reason. Never know. I've never put these speakers in here before, so I might have to take it apart. But at least I'll have, you know, I'm just not going to tighten everything back down yet. I might put a few of these ones back in, just to hold that screen on there. I think it's these ones. And these are a little fatter. They go in this. So, you know, when you're putting these in too, you know, you want to be careful. You don't want to. So that's pretty good. I got that on there. It's going to protect the front of those speakers now. So I'm happy with that. And we've got speakers in there. These 4 bolts, missing one of them. That'd be a good idea to get that bolt and put it in there. So got to figure out which one of these is left in the right speaker and go from there. So I was looking at these speakers trying to figure out which is positive and which is negative. And they got a positive on them. They got a positive right there. Right there's positive, and the other one's negative. So just make sure that you got that hooked up right. And the positive on these wires is the red wire is positive, and the brown is negative, and the orange is positive, and the yellow is negative. So check it out. I went to manualslib.com and looked up the Gallien Krueger 250 ml. There's a manual in here. and it will go through a lot of different stuff. But there's some trim pots in there that you can adjust for different stuff for distortion. This manual actually has all kinds of procedures for calibrating your amp too, so you might want to check it out. So hey guys, I was just looking at this amplifier here, and if you look right here on that resistor, and we look at the other side of the board, that it is burned. And there's some other areas here that have gotten hot. So, I mean, this is a really old amp. And if you look in here, there's some burn spots getting warm. But right there, man, that resistor got super hot. So that could have been, you know, plugged into the wrong speaker cabinet. The wrong ohm, stuff like that. So this thing's really old, from the 80s, and you know, I could have plugged it in wrong or something, or it could have been like that when I got it. I got it for really cheap. So it's a pretty cool amp though. So really, what should happen if you see something like that, if you see something burnt like that, that resistor should be pulled out of there and replaced. I'll check and see if I have one of those. But I mean, this thing has a stereo amplifier in it, and it's 50 watts per side, and it's running these little speakers. So I mean, this thing's been, geez, what is it now, 2020? This came out in the 80s, I don't know, like 86 or something like that. So, I mean, this thing's almost 40 years old, man. So, yeah, it's alright. I'm not an amplifier technician, so I could replace this resistor if I have that resistor in my garage. That's not a big deal. But you got some of these caps look okay. Sometimes on the end of these caps, it'll start oozing out stuff. These look okay. I mean, they're not burnt on the ends. But I have another Gallien Krueger bass amp that blew up, and these caps were burnt on the end here. So, you know, I don't want to put too much money into this, but it is kind of cool. It's kind of light. I might have a technician actually look at it and maybe replace a bunch of these components. I don't know if I want to get into it myself, but I do have another amplifier that I might just use these speakers for. But anyways, I want to show you that if you see stuff like that that's burnt, that's an issue right there. That something's going wrong there. So it's only a matter of time before it blows up and quits working completely. So right now it works. You know, both channels work. This channel here, this is the clean channel. It's got a boost on, or a compressor, and a little bit of distortion. This is the boost channel, distortion. It's got EQ on it, echo, and chorus. So anyways, just wanted to show you that. So I did a little bit of research, and this brown and red wire goes to the right hand speaker, which would be this speaker if you're looking at the front of the amp, and this orange and yellow speaker goes to the left speaker. So what I'll do is I'll take my wire strippers and strip that wire back. I'll have to grab my soldering iron and stuff, but I'll, you know, when you're stripping these, you don't want to like have too much wire hanging off of there. I mean, I'm gonna maybe do a 1/2 inch, right? 1/2 inch on each one of them. And you don't want to have like a lot of extra wire hanging out after you do it, because that'll just cause other problems. The wire could short out onto something. You don't want the wire like touching the speaker here. If you got a big ass long wire hanging out and it's all going all over the place, you just only want it to be touching, you know, right up to where you want it, you know. So anyways, I gotta grab my soldering iron. So I grabbed my soldering iron. I got this is a pretty good soldering iron, a Weller. It's a WP35. I recommend it's pretty good. I'm not the best soldering guy, but I do have fun with it, making guitar pedals and stuff. And I've got some Radio Shack lead-free solder, but you don't want to breathe this stuff in. So I'm going to open the door. I'm doing this in my living room. I usually would never do this inside my house, but you know, I got the fan running. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to turn the fan on, you know. Basically, you want it hot, but you want to be careful, you know. You don't want to burn yourself. Don't touch the tip. And you basically want to heat up your connector. And, you know, pretty much the way I learned, you want to tin this. So we'll put some solder on our wire and on this, and then we'll put it together. So this, let's see, I'm trying to remember which one goes where. So when you're looking at this guy's the left speaker and this guy's the right speaker. Okay. So, and that connector up here has got to go to your amp. It kind of almost looks like this wire, they had it connected over here, so because the way that it's, how much length is on it, you know. I believe that's the way I'm gonna try it. I looked it up on the internet, and one guy had this wire on the other side. So I think the way that wire is looking, that wants to lay out like that, and I believe that's the way it was, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, so you want to verify this stuff. I did find a schematic, you know, but we know that this is our negative, the brown wire, and this red wire is a positive. So what I'm gonna do before I solder it, I think I'm gonna put the wire on there first. I don't think that's actually how you're supposed to do it, but if I solder this connector first, then might be a problem. So anyways, you want to have plenty of light to do this. You want to make sure you're connecting it correctly. I got this tied in a knot. Need a little bit more of that brown wire. Alright, so I got it through there. I just want to put it like that so it'll have a strong connection. But you really should, if you're going to solder anything, look up a soldering class. I'm not trying to teach you how to solder. So open the door up, turn the fan on. Lucy, get over there. Alright, so I'll look and see. So this is a positive here. Or that's a negative. Bifocals. Okay. That one is negative. And this one is positive. So I'm gonna go ahead and solder this here. So soldering, you're gonna get, solder on your soldering iron. You're gonna wipe it off. Try not to breathe that stuff in, So you don't want your wire moving until it cools off, So like this one's bad. You gotta put all get enough solder on there. Pull your wire tight and the lid off. Anyways, so that's soldered, and that's pretty good, I think, good enough. So what I'm gonna do is plug the amp back in. I don't think I'm gonna assemble it all the way back, but see if it works. So what we're gonna do is speakers. Alright. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the amp back on. I'm gonna actually, I should probably bolt that all back together because the grounding and stuff might be weird, so. Yeah, because those solder connections are good, so. I just go ahead and put it back together. So I actually had plugged it in and turned it on, and when I applied power to the amp, the speakers retracted backwards. So I believe that means that the polarity is correct, and the polarity is correct with the speakers. So anyways, it had a little bit of static and stuff, but yeah, so I just got to put all of the screws back in. So I'm going to take these connectors off for a minute. So I'm not sure if it recorded it because the battery died on that camera, but these cables here, I don't recommend cutting them off of your speakers, because that's what I did on these speakers. And what happened is the wires were a little short, and these have little loops in them here, so I kind of tightened that up and I pulled it through the hole, and turned it like this, and then this connector would go into the circuit board. But if you assemble everything back and these wires aren't hooked up, or you make sure that, you need to make sure that it's going to reach before you put the case together and put all the screws in. So make sure that these wires are going to reach your circuit board, so you don't got to take it apart. There's a lot of screws, so just try to save you some hassle. Anyways, this is a cool little amp. It needs more work, but doing guitar and buying guitars and building them and buying cheap old amps is kind of my hobby, and playing guitar. So, I'm not professional amplifier builder, but these 250 MLs are cool. It's a really old amp, but that's how you would take these speakers out and put them back in. And then you gotta bolt it all back together. So it looks like it's gonna work. So I'm gonna I think actually I got an extra washer I forgot to put on. I need to put that on which speaker. So this speaker already has a washer, so I'll put it on this one. So it's good that I didn't tighten down all the screws on the front of this thing, right? I mean, my memory's not the greatest, so I got to do things slowly and make sure I get them right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cover off, and I didn't tighten it down yet, and I'm going to put this washer on that I forgot. And then I'm going to put the cover back on, and then it should be good to go to assemble everything. So I'm going to save you the pain of watching this, so I'm just going to come back in a minute. So I wanted to say something, so I'm back. But so the thing is that I didn't tighten these all the way down. They're just kind of in there. So, and that's fine, because I haven't worked on this amp in a long time, and I haven't really done this replacing these speakers before. So yeah, I need a flat head screwdriver to pull this off of here. You wanna, if you're pulling this off, you're gonna make sure you're not damaging your speaker. So got it off, and I'm going to add that little washer, which I believe has to do with some kind of a grounding thing that they got designed into this. So I'm going to find where the other flat washer went, and then put this flat washer on the other speaker. which I believe it's on the top. It's right there. So what I'll do is I'll put it on this bottom one. And I did kind of torque this down a little bit, but I want to be careful, you know, not to damage that speaker comb still, you know, because it only takes a half a second to ruin your speaker, and there's no reason to damage it, you know. You really want to be careful, man, you know. So I got that washer on there, and I'm just gonna hand tighten it again, and I'm going to tighten this down. So this thing's got a ratchet. This is a ratcheting screwdriver. So if this little ring's turned the wrong way, it'll just spin. So anyway, so I got that on there, and I'm just gonna tighten that down carefully. Okay, that's pretty tight. So now go ahead and could go get a screw for that. I might have it in the garage, I don't know. Anyway, so now just basically put all the screws back in, and that's about it. So I don't believe that it actually came with that screw for some reason. So the thing is if I don't get a new screw, it'll rattle. So, I'm gonna go look around the garage, see if I have here in Washington State, and get the right screw for that. Because I'm thinking that if this doesn't have this screw in here, it's gonna rattle. So if it gets any space in there between these two parts, between the speaker and this metal cabinet, it's gonna start rattling. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one of these screws out and one of the nuts, and I'm gonna go up to the store and get the right thing. Instead of doing it wrong, I'm just gonna do it correctly, and I have to take it apart again. You know, I might have to take it apart again anyways, but I don't want to have to take it apart for this screw, because it takes, 20 minutes to take all the screws out, figure it all out. It takes about 20 minutes, so anyway, so I'm going to do that. All right. So I went to the store, and I got the correct screws that I needed, and I even got an extra one. Get the screw and the locking nut, and there it is. Took the old one so I could match it up, but it was a 632 thread. So if you lose one of these, they're 632 threads, and I think it's like a 3/4 of an inch bolt. So I took the original one up there and I matched it up. This is original, and these are the new ones. So, yep. So that was worth it. It was worth it. It was $1.26 or something like that. So, and we will put it in there. It's a little bit longer than the original, but it'll work definitely. So And they have the black anodized ones. They were, I think, 10 cents more than the silver ones. So I think it was worth it. So we'll rattle. Definitely, I mean, I had to wait one more day. I had to go to band practice today, and it was up by my drummer's house, so it worked out well. So I've got an extra one. I think I'm just going to tape it or something inside of there, so if I sell this, you know, maybe someone might need it, or I could actually just put it in my, So this is interesting. That one doesn't want to go in there, so I'll probably have to loosen up the other ones. So the one that was missing, I had tightened all those other ones up, and it's not going in, so I have to loosen them up just a little bit. And once I get them loosened up, then I'll put the new one in there. Well, it's actually the old one, but so if you have a lot of patience and stuff, this is something, a project you can do. So there it goes in there now. Okay, got it in there. All right. That's why you don't want to like tighten all your bolts down before you get them in there. Because if you tighten one down and then you don't, you know, let's say you put one bolt in here and you tighten it all the way down and torque it down, it might be off just like a very, very minute amount, and the bolt won't go in. So that's what happened with this scenario here. Had 3 bolts that were tight and one that wasn't, and so I'll tighten these up. Yeah, you don't want them too tight, but you don't want them coming loose. So just tighten this one up. If you tighten it too tight, your Phillips head will strip out. Because these bolts are only designed for a certain amount of torque, and if you over torque it, it will strip it. It's doing right there. Okay. Yeah, looks like we got them all in there. I just go one more time and make sure I snugged them all up. And you want to kind of go on a cross pattern too when you're torquing stuff like head bolts on the engine or something. You usually have a certain torquing pattern for things, but this isn't an engine, so get it pretty tight. And just make sure they're all on there. So it was worth going and getting an extra screw that was missing, because now it won't rattle, you know. And get all these all torqued in there. Alright, they're all in there. We have one extra bolt if we need it. So, then we'll just put the case together. That. So down here on the bottom you have 4 bolts to bolt these, the front piece and the back piece together, and then you have 4 bolts for the screen here. Probably should put the screen on before I torque the other bolts. Kind of want to line up your gasket on there and put it on there. Anyways, your bottom bolts are kind of a fatter bolt. That's it right there. You just assemble it back the way it came out of there. And you just put them all in there first and then torque them down, you know. Make sure you get all your bolts in first. Especially if you have 2 parts that meet up together. Because if they're not if it's not aligned correctly and you tighten it all the way down, it'll definitely probably have to be taken apart, so. When I was up at the hardware store, I was thinking, is there anything else I needed to get? But I think we're pretty good now. Got it all soldered. And you just got to put all these bolts back together carefully. A lot of these little bolts. So what I recommend, if you're gonna replace these speakers, figure out what speakers you want to get, order them, and then when they come in, then take it apart, and so you don't lose all the screws. So you can kind of remember where everything goes too, you know. If you take it apart, like let's say you were gonna take it apart today and then you know, put it back together next week or something when the parts get here, you might forget how it went together, you know. And it's always best to do the whole job with all the tools you need and have all the parts and then start the job. Because if you take it apart and leave it laying around in your garage, you might lose something. It's like these old speakers that I took out of here. I was going to recone them, but I didn't order the kit, and so then they're out there somewhere in a drawer. You know, I'll have to, maybe I'll recone them, maybe I won't. I'm not sure. I think this is the right bolt. It's a little bit too big. That's the other thing, you know, just stuff, when you're putting something together, it should go together easily. You shouldn't have to force anything. You should have to hammer a bolt in a in a hole, it should go in there easily. Because if it doesn't, probably something wrong. So we got those together. Now we got 3 bolts back here. Some of these are like machine screws that are machined like this, the flat. If you can see that. That one's flat on the end. It's like a machine screw, but if it has a point on the end of it, like that, then that's a sheet metal screw. So they go in a different, there's different ones for different spots, and you kind of want to remember where they go if you can. But when you're putting it back together, you shouldn't have to force it, and if you're forcing it, you probably got the wrong screw. See, these ones on the back to put the case together are sheet metal screws. And I think those flat machine screws go on the sides in the middle of the cover, I believe. So I'm not putting these on really tight. First I'm just, put it together, see how it goes, because I still have to put the side of it on there. And you might have to take it apart and readjust things to make it work. So now we got the box together. And I'm going to put the amp on first. Amplifier should probably be rebuilt, but I'm not an amplifier technician, so I'll just wait. Or I could, sell it to someone and tell them, hey, it needs to be rebuilt. And there's no reason to sell this to anybody and tell them and it's in perfect working condition, because then that's just gonna cause them problems, and I wouldn't want to do that. So if I do sell it, I'll be like, hey, it needs to be rebuilt, but it's a cool amp. If you want to take it to someone, have them rebuild it for you, So now, since we got the top, I'm going to plug these connectors in and make sure we got enough slack. And it looks like we do. So, barely. Alright. Gotta kind of just line it up, wiggle things around so it goes together. There's a lot of screws with this thing, so if you're not patient, you might want to take it to your amp tech. But he's probably going to charge you because there's a lot of screws, I would guess it would probably be a half-hour labor just to take it apart. And some guys might not even do it, maybe some guys are just into, see, now this one's not cooperating. This one might actually have, I think that these are the machine screws, so this one I put the wrong one in there. I didn't force it in there, I didn't tighten it down. You might want to wear gloves to get all this electrical paste everywhere, so I want to wear some gloves. I just didn't put it on. So I believe that's for a grounding path. So it looks like these machine screws go from the amp to the chassis. Yeah, that's them. It's the little flat ones. They don't have a point on the end of them, so yeah, there's a few of them here. Little teeny guys. Might have to push on the amp so it'll engage with it. This is kind of fun, you know. So, you got the amp on the top. Now, I believe you got to put the sides on because the sides hold the top of the amp down. It's pulled here on this and pulls the side of the amp together. So, yeah, these are machine screws going into the. I don't know if that one's a machine screw or not. Looks like it is. Alright. Cooking that one. So now what happened is I put the wrong side on. So these side panels only go on one side. This one was for the opposite side. Yeah, there we go. That one goes there. This one goes here. That's correct. We can put the bolts back in. And you want to be careful not to drop your bolts on the inside of the amp. So, just take your time. Put it back together. Yeah, that sure was fun playing music with my friends. I was playing bass, and my friend plays the drums, and his sons both play guitar, so we play some cover tunes, but mostly we just come up with some riffs, and then I'll sing. It's a lot of fun. So, and these side ones, most of them are sheet metal screws. That one's not really lining up very well, so kind of line it up. Yeah, these Gallien Krueger amps they sound really cool, but if you have to fix them, they cost some money to fix. There's a lot of labor, like taking it apart. But it's a lot of fun to do it yourself if you know how. And you can actually take college courses on fixing tube amps and amplifiers, and if you're in the United States, a lot of different places. So this middle one, I know, is this big gold bolt here. That one goes in there. And I think that's actually this bolt here, is you can, there's a bracket that'll go down and underneath and over to the other side, and you can mount it onto a speaker stand or a microphone stand. So I believe that's what these are designed for. I don't have that bracket for that, but we'll see if we lost any screws. Got a few more screws here. And still have to put the top back on. And so let's see, I have another jar around here somewhere with the rest of the screws here. There. believe those are for the top. So, hopefully we have them all. Got one more on the side that I need, and there it is underneath there. So yeah, it's best to put these in a dish or a ashtray or whatever. Some kind of a let's see. This says $225. I wonder if that's how much I paid for this. I think I actually paid less. It seems like, if I remember correctly, it was less money. So now that I've got it all kind of screwed back together, I'll just tighten everything just a little bit more, you know. Because then it kind of has been aligned itself up. And some guys would just torque it down now, but I like to get everything so it kind of likes to be where it likes to be and aligns itself, you know. So I'm pretty slow at working on stuff, man. Just like to take it easy and not rush it, because if you do it wrong, this is actually, these ones I didn't take those screws out, so if you do it wrong, then it's like you could break something or you could hurt yourself, or so it's better to take it easy and do it correctly. Just like I went and bought that missing screw. I don't know, I was already up by that area, so I took the screw off of the amp and then went and that's pretty good right there. So inside of this amp, it's got some inside of the amp, it's got these little white screws on it, and you can adjust these for distortion. And then up here, these are delay and chorus. So I could put the top on and torque it down, but I think I'm gonna wash my hands and plug a guitar into it. So this amp uses a regular, I believe you call it an IEC good power cord. It's just like a regular power cord you can use. Plug it in, power. It's good to use a power conditioner on your amp, surge protector, but the power in my house is pretty good, so for this little test I'm not going to plug it in the power surge protector. And let's turn it on. So this amp, it has a AB switch right here. You can also plug a foot switch into it here and switch the channels. It's got a little bit of hum on it. I'll pick up a guitar, plug it in. See how it sounds. got chorus on it. It's got echo. I mean, this amp is loud. It's a 100-watt amp. It's like a B string is always out of tune, huh? So these little speakers, these PYLE speakers that I got, PYLE PDMW6s, 250 watt peak power. They're pretty bright. So the old speakers that it came with were a lot duller sounding. Pretty bright, man. And you almost got to turn all the EQ down. This is 500 hertz. And it's got 120. You almost got to turn up the low end because these speakers are so small. It's got a little bit of hum on it. And one of the speakers is kind of crapping out. I don't know what that's about. Yeah, so there was some kind of a rattling or distortion on this left speaker. So I tried out for a ska band, and I had to carry my 410 Marshall cabinet, my orange amp, and my guitar, my pedal board, and I was like, man, I just need something small. So that's why I bought these speakers. So this might work for ska, I don't know. If I get another chance to jam with those guys down in Seattle, I'll take this one and check it out. It's really clean sound. It kind of takes your head off though, there's so much high end. Yeah, that compressor can be adjusted on the inside of the amp. I don't know, it's kind of tricky to get it adjusted correctly. Depends on what amplifier you have and stuff, so. Definitely not a tube amp. But it's really clean. Anyway, so, hey, we bought the speakers for 20 bucks a piece on Amazon. These PYLE PDMW6. And this is the Gallien Krueger 250 ml. I'll go ahead and just put the screws back in the top of it. And then think it's good to go. So I could show you guys. Put these screws in too. It's these little guys. These are little machine head screws. Actually, I'm going to adjust it. So I'm going to adjust this compressor setting. So anyways, thanks for watching, and have an awesome day, and have an awesome day playing guitar and mess around with guitar amps and guitar pedals and stuff like that. Peace. Alright, so the compressor's adjusted pretty good for a Stratocaster. So I'm going to leave it because I adjusted it the other day. And the test guitar that I was playing was a Telecaster parts caster, you know. Has a Warmoth neck on it. If you want a nice neck for your guitar, for your Strat or Tele, I really recommend a Warmoth neck. They're excellent. And you can order whatever you want. They'll custom make it for you. It's really high quality. The fret work is really great. And it's not too expensive, you know. You know, get what you pay for. You could probably get a really nice neck for 300 bucks with stainless steel frets and whatever kind of wood you want, maple or stuff like that. I'm not sure if they have any more of the rosewood anymore, but they got a bunch of exotic woods too that they use. So, but you know, yeah, this thing, I don't know, it probably has 50 screws in it. And it's got all this electrical paste in there to make sure the ground paths are good on the chassis. Now, one of these speakers, this left speaker, it was kind of crapping out. I'm not sure if it's the speaker or if it's the amplifier. I didn't notice the amp doing that when I had it plugged into this 4x10 Marshall, but those Celestion speakers are pretty forgiving, you know, and that, you know, not sure, but when I run this compressor in, it doesn't really crap the speaker out, so I mean the speaker might be something wrong with it. Just kind of tighten these up. That's about it, you know. You don't want to tighten them too tight or they'll strip out, so I think that's pretty good. And that's the Gallien Krueger 250 ml stereo chorus It sounds pretty cool with the chorus on it. Let's check it out with the chorus. Check it out. I got a Stratocaster. So it's kind of cool. It has a stereo chorus effect. The echo is kind of weak, but it's still pretty cool. I mean, it's not... You can adjust it also. So, if you don't have the compressor in... It's kind of weak, so... You can adjust the compression inside of it, so... Anyways, thanks for watching, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe for more videos. Appreciate it. Later.